Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. You are joining us today for the weekly F1 show. My name is Mark Pettit, and I am joined by my fellow pundit, Reese Stedman, joining us from Durban. And we are talking F1, as I say, today. And biggest news of the weekend, I suppose, of the past weekend, is the fact that AlphaTauri have released their car. Other things that we're going to be talking about today, a couple of small articles in F1 news. McLaren and Aston Martin are both releasing their cars today. Very much looking forward to that. Those cars will be released in just a couple of hours as well. UK time 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock respectively for either team. There are already a couple of teasers as well, and we'll go and talk about those. And just generally, we're going to talk about the season in general, what's going to happen with new drivers, etc. And we'll just have a good chat. So, Reese, welcome to the show. We'll jump straight into it. And I'm going to go quickly to our news studio, and I'm going to say, look at this car here. AlphaTauri's new car for the 2023 season. Talk me through.
Yes, well, it was quite a funny launch that they did. It's quite comical. I was actually watching the live stream with Matt from, he used to be one of the commentators on WTF1. Him and Tommy Lee were busy reacting to it. AlphaTauri did their launch from New York Fashion Week this year, and people were expecting another long-winded launch like Red Bull had, but it was actually about 40 seconds. So it's quite funny. They launched it as soon as they started their live stream. They've got quite a new livery compared to last year. Still similar colors, but with some new flares to it. A lot of red, obviously tying into Orlen, one of their new sponsors for this year.
Okay. Well, as I say, I'm just going to go through the pictures here, and you can see it's quite an aggressive looking car. I mean, look, all the new Formula One cars are as well, but I mean, I quite enjoy the livery of it. I mean, it's.
Well, you say aggressive. It's got the same aerodynamics as last year's Red Bull.
Yeah. Well, hence, as I say, it's everyone is taking on the opportunity to go and see what worked really, really well last year, and you're seeing these teams so far of the cars that have been released. Certain ones are following, Red Bull, obviously.
The majority of them have taken the Red Bull side pods.
Well, exactly,
yeah,
and also also Ferrari's also been copied. I know from I think it was it Haas? I think was that.
Well, yes, Haas and Ferrari are always going to be very similar as they run the same power unit, so they need the same kind of cooling. So normally they run very similar in that aspect to their cooling systems. Which is why you always see those cutouts on all of the Ferrari-powered cars, as they do need that extra bit of cooling compared to some of the other engine manufacturers.
Yeah. Now, as I say, what has been something that I've started to notice out of these couple of those cars that have been released so far is, for me, I don't know, you can tell me otherwise, but I certainly think the rear wing, is it just me, or do some of them look a little bit more sunk than they were last year?
So I did a bit of a comparison between the AlphaTauri of last year and this year, and it actually has changed quite a bit. Their lower plane on the wing is a lot flatter than last year's one that did a lot more of a dip in last year's wings, as well as the top plane is a lot flatter as well compared to last year's.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, it's quite a beautiful car, if I'm honest. I mean, I haven't actually been disappointed by any of the car reveals so far. I mean, maybe Haas's livery was a little bit somewhat of a bore for me,
but new one.
But as I say, some people quite like it. I think they could have done more, but as I say, we look livery wise, but as I said, the AlphaTauri's Bull coming through.
If you're going to be upset by livery, I think you should be upset with Red Bull because
they
have not changed a single thing.
But Red Bull never do. That's the thing with Red Bull, to be fair. So I'm not expecting Red Bull to change because that's not what they're meant to do. Just quickly commenting here, just saying. Noob Jimmy Boy saying, I really like this AlphaTauri, don't understand the controversy around the red trim. Well, I mean,
I like it as well. I'm quite a fan of the red trim around it. I think it does make it look more aggressive, makes it look like a race car. I mean, It's a race car without some red on it.
I say you've got to have a little bit of like some, a little bit of atmosphere and sort of things, and add these little general things. I mean, I quite like obviously the little Italian flags and the insides of the front wing. It's
the
little
tricolore on
details.
the inside is quite cool. I mean, you have to think this team is solely based in Italy. Their main factory is in Italy, just down the road from Imola.
Yeah, and as I say, so I mean, looking at AlphaTauri these days, we've got two drivers obviously for AlphaTauri. One being brand new, taking over from Pierre Gasly of last season. That is Nick de Vries, first season in F1. Now, what do you think is going to happen with him this season for AlphaTauri as well?
I really do think this year that he is going to dominate his teammate for sure. I don't think Yuki stands a chance against Nick de Vries at all. Nick is very talented and has had a lot of experience. He won Formula E, I think, previously. Maybe just fact check me on that.
No. So we just talk generally, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that. Yuki Tsunoda's already had experience in the F1 stage. Obviously for the whole season of last season. I mean, everyone did accuse him of being quite an immature little boy. Essentially, I know it sounds like such a rude statement to say, but people did call him
coming
that.
into the sport.
Yeah.
Obviously not as young as Max Verstappen, but yes, he was very immature when he came into sport. And I mean, Red Bull had him based living on his own in the UK, and he had to obviously look after his own training schedule and all of that, and it just was not working in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
So they moved him across to Italy so he could be close to the team and they could have a lot more control with his schedule. And from there, he really did excel quite a lot more. I think he has a lot of talent, but I just think Nick de Vries is on another level. I did fact check myself. He did win the Formula E World Championship in 2019.
So it's interesting, as you say, because Tsunoda, we hope will mature, but this season, grow with the team a bit more. I mean, he was very mouthy, I suppose, in the car, on the radio a lot of the times when things weren't quite going his way, and he was otherwise very, very calm and reserved, and very much out of it pretty much otherwise outside of the car, which was also another thing.
I think you have to take everything he says with a pinch of salt, especially when you have to think these drivers learn English at the racetracks.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily going to be the cleanest
language. Yeah, as said, James also saying, Yuki was a lot better last year, but still such a temperamental character. He's got a lot of talent, but is such a head case. Well, as I say, a very, very immature start, I think, to his F1 career in terms of presenting himself, but surely that'll improve as he gets older and the longer he's on the grid as well.
Yes, for sure. We also saw some of Williams. I think that was launched last week. Williams's livery.
Yeah.
Just going back to that, people have been talking about it quite a lot online. People are obviously upset that they've got this new Gulf livery and they haven't embraced it as much as they thought they may have. They didn't really use any of the Gulf colors, which is quite sad.
Yeah, I mean, I've just gone back to the Williams car now, just looking at it in photos here, and you can see it on your screens as well, everybody. I mean, it's quite a change to last year's car, just generally. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
is it though? I don't think it is.
I mean, yes and no. I'll tell you why I do think it looks a little bit more. I mean, look. I mean, that's just me talking. I mean, obviously, pictures make it look a lot better than when it's on the track. Of course, you'll have to see it on the track, and then you can start having a
I mean,
think
I'm
about
looking at side-by-side pictures of it. The only difference that I can see they've added is they've added a little bits of like bright blue.
But that's what I say. It's just trying to make it a little bit more. But that's what I was trying to say. It is that light blue, and it's just trying to make it a little bit more flash. Those Luma colors. I reckon this will look quite pretty in the night races. The likes of Bahrain, Saudi Arabia.
But I mean, I would love to see some of those Gulf colors coming in with the orange. And
exactly. Just going back here. Sorry. Do we know what time the Aston Martin car releases? Yeah, so the Aston Martin car release is at 9 o'clock SAST time. UK time, that'll be 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
So yeah, we are keeping our eyes open and peeled for that. And we will do a video on that release as well as the McLaren release, which are both happening today. And speaking of the McLaren release, if we go to my change of screen here, if we go and look at this, we've got on the Twitter basically, they've got something quite interesting in the fact that they are teasing some of the liveries. So I'm just trying to scroll down. I can't seem to scroll. It's really frustrating me. I will work that out now. I don't quite know why it's not allowing me to scroll. But Reese, you saw some of
What's
the
that? Sorry, I found a nice render of what the Williams livery should have looked like.
Oh
I'm
right.
just busy sending that across to you at the moment.
But yeah, just trying to scroll for some unknown reason. I cannot seem to scroll.
Yes, well,
Nonetheless, I'll just go to
McLaren
media.
did on Twitter just they released some teaser pictures of what we think their new livery is going to have, as they have just released a picture now of Vicstar in a McLaren hoodie.
Yes, I know, saying testing, 1, 2, 3. So interesting that is they're just trying to bring in the modern world, the YouTube stars, and you know we talk about YouTube stars in general on the F1 grid now becoming more and more of a prominent thing. Seeing a lot of these big name stars on the grid, and a lot of them good friends with some of the drivers. You know, the likes of Lando Norris is very good friends with a lot of the UK YouTube group, the Sidemen, and it's quite interesting that you know that whole.
I think they so big into their sim racing nowadays that they do get involved in the esports side of things, which obviously the Sidemen are hugely involved in.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's
just going.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No. Carry on.
To the McLaren teasing their livery design for today. They just released some backstage pictures of all their LED screens with their images on. And it's obviously saying 60 years of McLaren, as well as just some of the colors that they might be using. So there's a lot of orange, of course,
yeah.
for McLaren, blues, pinks, and purples. So it would be quite cool to see if we get some new colors being brought onto these cars. There was also a picture of the back edge of the car with some blue on it and some more purple in the background. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of those colors make it onto the car this year.
I mean, as I said,
something new in.
Yeah, as I said, we know the supercars across the world, the McLarens. They've really popped right back into everybody's conversation again in these last 10 years. You know, it was much with the release of the MP4-12C. That car really reinvigorated the brand in terms of the sports car on the road, and it would be really cool to see on the F1 cars, you say, a couple more of the McLaren colors. That purple, especially for me, is something I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing a bit more of, because McLaren are quite famous for having the orange and the purple as well on their cars. So seeing a bit more purple on the car could be very cool as well. And I'd be very interested to see how they would blend the purple in with the orange, because of course they're quite contrasting colors. But McLaren's car is arguably one of the most identifiable cars on the grid now. These days, and they're bright orange, so changing that livery will be a very interesting tact, I think.
Well, obviously got those two big car launches happening today with McLaren and Aston Martin, but we have forgotten about another one that is happening, not today, but tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's tomorrow's.
But we said we're going to be doing a video recapping all the... Yes, so the biggest car launch I'm certainly waiting for is Ferrari, which is happening tomorrow on Valentine's Day.
Yes. As I said, Ferrari coming out tomorrow is big news as well, and as I say, it's quite funny that obviously the day of red, pinks, and whites, and Valentine's Day, we will send hearts to Ferrari, who will be releasing their car for the 2023 season, which is obviously the second massive major team to launch. Of course, the last one there will be Mercedes when they should release it. I can't quite remember the date. I'll go and try and find that date now. But
so the Ferrari launch is happening tomorrow at 11:25 a.m. CET, which is, I assume, Central European time.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what that is in South African time. Maybe 1 o'clock or 2ish.
Yeah, I think we'll have to check that. But nonetheless, it'll be somewhat about midday tomorrow for most of Europe and South Africa. I think actually it might be more or less the same time because I think Central European time is very similar to SAST, maybe even 1 hour
It's an
ahead.
hour ahead.
Yeah.
1 hour ahead. Yeah, so it will be happening at 12 tomorrow.
Yeah. So very much looking forward to that and seeing what happens with regards to Ferrari's launch. We will keep our eyes peeled, and I'm sure everybody else will as well. Just as I say, so we've got AlphaTauri who's released their car now, and we've got Aston Martin and McLaren obviously releasing their cars later today. And then Ferrari finally tomorrow. Now, after that, the only one we're really looking forward to, let's be honest, I mean, not to take away from the smaller teams, but is that of Mercedes. Now, we talk Mercedes, we talk Ferrari, we talk Red Bull as being the big three teams for the season. Do we think that, Red Bull we know are going to be consistently good? Do we think that Ferrari and Mercedes can compete with Red Bull this season? Are they going to improve to the means that they need to try and get a few more podiums alongside Red Bull?
Sorry, I am listening. I'm just doing some investigating. There is some videos of Lando speaking that have popped up with a render of the car in the background. So I'm just busy looking at that on Twitter. But yes, I do think the Ferraris are going to be a bit more competitive this year. Whether they are going to keep that competitiveness, we'll have to see. Obviously, they've lost a lot of consistency throughout the year, as we saw last year. Obviously, just making all those stupid strategy mistakes and pit errors. If they want to be in the fight for the Constructors or the Drivers' Championships, they really have to give it their all. I mean,
Yeah.
we have the likes of Red Bull and Mercedes fighting it out for those championships as well, and they do not give up any points that they can.
No, not at all. Now, as you say, so we had a little bit of information coming in with regards to. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to fiddle with something here, and it's not quite working, so I'm just going to have to go back from that. But you say we've got a little bit of information with regards to McLaren releasing a possible couple of teasers, some more teasers with the car. So, what can you tell us that we are seeing so far on this McLaren?
Well, in the video that I'm busy looking at the moment, if you want to try find their page, it's at Lando or at Norris Lando fans. There's a video of Lando Norris speaking. From what I can see, they've got quite a lot of purple on the car actually, with some cool designs. Definitely a big change from last year. Also with those wheel covers, they've also gone with some cool designs on those. So if this is a true render, which I think it is because it's got Lando Norris speaking in front of it, it's quite an exciting car for this year.
Okay, as I say, I'm just trying to find the means as well. But so McLaren obviously got rid of Daniel Ricciardo this season, and in comes. Sorry. Just trying to find everything whilst I'm talking. But I said, got a new driver on the grid. Just talk us through the new man.
Well, which one? We have two. Obviously, the McLaren one. Yeah, we have Oscar Piastri joining with McLaren for this year, which is extremely exciting. Obviously, he is from, I think he's Australian.
Yes, he is, yeah.
I almost said he was Kiwi, but no, he is Australian. Yes, obviously Australian for another one, swapping out from Daniel Ricciardo. Getting some fresh blood into the sport is very exciting. I mean, I'm glad to be seeing some of these drivers that I've been watching from Formula 2 and Formula 3 finally making their way into the sport. Oscar Piastri is incredibly talented. Obviously winning his season in Formula 3 and in Formula 2 in his rookie season. So that doesn't happen very often.
No, as I say. So hopefully seeing a great talent entering McLaren. As I say, we know obviously Lando Norris being a great talent as well and being talked up a lot. Lando Norris and now Oscar Piastri taking up the orange colours. So both of them sporting somewhat of the Union Jack in their flags. So a little bit of similarities. But I reckon they'll get on quite well. They I'm sure they'll be good teammates for the season, and hopefully if the McLaren can try and start competing a little bit more with those big teams, we will see a really, really good season. And maybe Oscar Piastri will find himself on the pole, not on the pole, but on the podium at some point this season.
Yes, if McLaren are competitive enough this year, then we certainly could be seeing him on a podium this year. Obviously, depending on how him and Lando get along, I'm sure Lando will be kind of leaving him to fend for himself a bit, as Lando did with Daniel Ricciardo. He doesn't necessarily owe Oscar anything.
No.
Even though he may be a rookie in Formula One, I don't think he is going to be necessarily mentoring him too much.
Exactly, yeah. So
I see you have your Twitter up and running again.
Not quite, unfortunately. That is it's a different page, but yeah. So unfortunately, I'm just going to have to stay with just this page here. But speaking on news generally, so we've got.
Sorry, just to interrupt you. I've seen some people saying in the comments it might be McLaren's shadow team livery. So we'll have to see if the livery that I've seen is their shadow livery or their official one. So if people who don't know, their shadow livery often goes for the esports team.
Yeah. So I mean, basically being very sneaky, I suppose we'll say, McLaren, possibly trying to lure people into a false sense of security with regards to what the car will look like, and it'll be completely different to what it will be. And that release will only be in just over an hour and 7 minutes. That release will start for McLaren, and until then, we do have a couple of small information, small facts and figures just to speak through. That of a couple of news items coming in with Stefano Domenicali. Apparently, you were chatting me through this. Now, I just want to tell everybody what has actually happened there.
Yes. Well, obviously, there's been quite a lot of back and forth between the Formula One owners, Liberty Media, as well as the FIA, just having a bit of war of words at the moment, after the Formula One group had a possibility of selling one.
Sorry, we just seem to have lost Reese very temporarily there. So until that comes back, I'm just going to carry on going with regards to what he was talking about. So there were a lot of couple of small things happening with regards to F1's Mohammed Ben Sulayem with regards to the bidding for F1 and the valuation of it. We do seem to have Reese back. Luckily, he's joined us back again.
Oh, great.
You can continue as you were. Very apologize for that. But I basically just continuing on from what you were saying, but as you were going.
Yes. But yes, so the Formula One group were in talks of selling Formula One, and they were offered about $20 billion to buy the company out. And FIA chief Ben Sulayem had said on Twitter that he believed that it was an overestimated and overinflated evaluation of Formula One, which of course Liberty Media were not very impressed by, as he's pretty much saying that they aren't worth that much, and that whoever gave that bid shouldn't have offered that much for Formula One. So there's been quite a bit of war of words at the moment between the two, and Formula One group are, I think, trying to get Ben Sulayem fired from his position for FIA.
Yeah, so that's big news there, as I say. So just going back to an article that was basically saying, that Stefano Domenicali doesn't think that Ben Sulayem is doing his job, in direct quotes, is not doing his job. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, this is coming from the Express in the UK, but the quote that was said, apparently they told Sky Sports, which this is true, is with Mohammed. I just want to confirm that this is him saying it. Yeah, this is the Domenicali speaking. He says, with Mohammed Ben Sulayem coming in as the new president last year, it was clear that as normal when there is a new president, there is a manifesto he has to respect, because there was his proposition in front of the members that voted him, he told Sky Sports. Now, please notice the English is not mine. It is that of Stefano. Then there is a need and the time to adjust and assess what the right role is for the FIA in the F1 Championship. There's no secret to say that the key of the success of our sport is to have everyone doing his job in the right way for the benefit of the growth of the sport. any kind of personalism, any kind of thing that is not helpful to that does not have any need to comment. We all have an interest to make sure the sport is growing. We are all united. If someone is not doing the right job, there will be a problem. So very much giving a warning, it seems, to Sulayem. They're basically saying, if you don't do your job properly, we will get you out. So yeah, very, very
Which I
antsy
think
there.
is fair.
Yeah, no, 100%. But as I said, it's very, very tactical.
Well, he's clearly irked them, which I think he was not in the right mind to have done.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily want to irk the shareholders of a sport that you're essentially governing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So it's a little bit feisty at the top of F1, but I mean, all's definitely not F1 if there isn't a little bit of drama happening at some point and at some time. So yeah, just to confirm it with everybody. So we've got a few more car releases coming out this week. F1 is coming back very, very soon. We are very much taking shape. The season, it's taking shape. Things are starting to happen. We've got the grid, we've got drivers, we've got cars being released. Almost all the cars are
coming up in a few weeks, which is also very exciting.
Yeah.
We'll finally see some of the first images of the actual cars for 2023.
Exactly. So, and then we will get right back into racing, and of course we will be there alongside you all throughout that time. So we are just going to wrap up quickly the live stream now. So thank you very much for watching. Just to say a couple of things to go through. AlphaTauri released their car. It's looking all right. It's not. Some people, a couple of people, a little bit skeptical of the livery itself. I quite like it personally. I haven't been too upset with any of them. And we do have two big liveries happening to later today. That being McLaren and Aston Martin. And tomorrow the big announcement is Ferrari. Middle of the day, and we will of course do a couple of videos with regards to those as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been joined by Reese. Reese, any comments just to add just before we leave, or you all good?
No, all good. I'm just excited for the next few days of car releases.
Yeah, exactly. So very, very keen to see what the new cars of the 2023 season look like. That, of course, being Ferrari tomorrow. I'm very, very excited. But we will keep a keen eye on McLaren and Aston Martin for now, for the rest of the day. Thank you so much for watching Forever Sports. I have been Mark Pettit. You've been joined by my fellow pundit on this side. I always go the wrong way. It's this side. Reese Stedman. And you've been watching Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. Until next time, everybody. Goodbye.